Hello. Welcome to my stream. I'm Felicia, and we are on part 3. I think I mislabeled this one, but I'll fix it in post. My favorite words on set. Oh, we'll fix it on post. But welcome. I have a minute. The weather has been extremely hot, and I have not wanted to step foot in my studio. But today, it's actually kind of lovely, so we're going with it. I have a little bit of time. It is a little bit of a luxury that I get to focus on my side quest, and I'm kind of excited about it, and I wanted to just dig in. But if I just dug in, then I'm not sharing it with you guys, so let's go on this journey together. What is this journey? Where are we going? What are we doing? What are we working on? I have this lovely Gunne Sax dress that I bought way too long ago, and I absolutely love. And I wanted to copy it, so I am making it out of bed sheets because I have free bed sheets, and it's a low risk, easy entry way to practice this pattern. And plus, I think it looks really cute. So I'm using some bed sheets. I'm recreating this Gunne Sax dress. I've patterned it. I've cut it out, all except for the ruffle of the skirt. So I'm going to be doing that today. And I started putting it together. Order of operations does matter, so I have to rip out a couple seams that I already sewed in, but it's not a big deal. Sometimes it's just like, do these fit together? Yeah, they do. All right, they'll go together in the next step. But it's not the end of the world. There's no like leather or anything, so the holes aren't permanent. And there's no real high cost of restitching. I know it's annoying to rip it out and restitch things, but if your tension's not too tight, it's not the worst in the world, and most things just pop open. And I have to just swallow my pride and just, it's better to do it right now than to like let it go 10 more steps, and then you have to rip it out and rip out those 10 steps too, because you know that it's easier just to handle this as soon as you realize it. Anyway, so there are some things that I do have to rip out, so I'm going to rip out the ties. I already attached those, but I want to put them in a different order, so I'm going to take those out. I have to recut out the gusset because I didn't calculate the width of the elastic into my pattern. I just kind of went with it, so I'm going to add an extra 2 inches just so that I have the wiggle room for my elastic seam allowance. And then once I have everything kind of cut out and broken down, I'm going to start sewing together the skirt because I don't want to think about the bodice for a second. I'll do some of the long seams on the skirt and probably cut out the ruffle for the skirt. And that's my goals to get through today, because then the big hard stuff is done and it should go downhill from there. So, welcome Ionolith. I hope you had a lovely nap. Michael Snell, hello. 45th Clown, hello. Hope you are well. I am doing well. It's nice and toasty here, but I actually really enjoy this weather, so I'm not complaining. I'm sorry, Ionolith, you didn't catch the first part, and your internet. I'm glad it's not necessarily my internet issue, so whew. Anyways, welcome. I have my project bin here ready to go. It's been sitting here since we last worked on this project. This is the extra bed sheet. I still have to cut out my ruffles for it, so I do want to do that today. For the elastic, I just grabbed elastic because I'm not going to cut it out of this elastic. This elastic has an ugly edge, and I'd rather have a sharp, clean edge, so I'm going to use a fresh piece of elastic. And this is the trim I haven't used for this dress yet. And then these are my pattern pieces and all the pieces that I'm working on so that they didn't get lost while I am chaotic creation mode. Okay, so not onto skirt yet. Pattern pieces, gauntlets, don't need the gauntlets yet. All right, this is bodice pieces that I am going to need. Those are my facings. I don't need this piece. And bodice left, bodice right. The waistband, this is what I'm going to be ripping apart. Not working on the sleeves yet. Here's my skirts. looking for the pattern piece. This is the double that I cut out, so it's my extra one, but it doesn't have the seam allowance added, so I can't use it as a new piece, but I am just going to look for that pattern piece that I thought was right here with everything else. I had a project bin to keep everything clean and together, but everything's white and light and bright. Okay, so these are the bodice pieces. These are gauntlet pieces, so those go to the sleeves. Bodice, bodice, bodice. These are the pattern pieces. These are my sloper pieces that I based all my pattern pieces too, so if I need to re-reference anything, I have them. All right, so that means it's in the tub. Okay, sorry, I'm just catching up on comments. Michael Snell, glad you're doing this right now. I'm doing some boring desk work and would enjoy the company. Well, I'm glad that you are enjoying watching me. Unfortunately, go through my patterns right now, but I want to adjust my original pattern to reflect, here it is, with the piece I was adjusting. To reflect the changes that I made. Because when I reference this to the original, let's see, lining up at the waistline, it has just this as the seam allowance right here if I line it up. So it doesn't account for this as seam allowance, and it didn't give me enough for this seam allowance. So that was just me miscalculating, but also it gives me a chance to kind of reevaluate how I want to approach this. Hold on. I was just seeing how it was done because I'm copying this. So I keep referencing the original. It really does help. Okay, let's see. I wanted to add 2 extra inches to this pattern piece. Excess fabrics over here. This. All right. Looks like something Belle would wear, very classic. I know, it's very cottagecore, very 70s prairie dress. It's a Gunne Sax. I absolutely love it. I feel like a fairy princess when I run around in it. So my favorite things about this dress is the neckline, because it kind of comes up, curves up onto the neckline, and then it has like a princess, or at least, I don't know what the correct term is, but it feels like a princess collar neckline. And then it has a puff sleeve that's not super puff, but it's lacy and dainty. And then it has gauntlets, so that definitely feels like medieval princess. So yeah, I absolutely love this. And I'm kind of really liking this blue color that the sheet is. And I think it's a good modern print. But yeah, so fun side quest. Okay. This is a scrap, so I was looking at which way the print goes, because there's definitely a directional print to this fabric. It's subtle, but it is very clear that there is an up, there is a down, left and right. So, but it looks like a chaotic all over print, which it is, but if I mess it up, everybody will notice. All right, let me see. I have a torn straight edge. Let me go down. Whoops, sorry. 2 more inches. fold it in half. This in half. I'm being very wasteful with the way that I'm cutting this fabric, but I have so much of it that I'm really not stressing out because this is like a leftover piece of a leftover piece. And I'm going to use the rest of the big part of the fitted sheet to make the ruffles, which are the last big pieces that I need. All right. So now this pattern piece is 2 inches longer than the original one. I was going to correct the pattern piece, but I'm doing this live in front of you guys. So that's a little boring. We'll move on from that. This is my extra, and I don't want to get it confused as a pattern piece, so it's going in my scrap bin. Okay. Turn on my iron because now I need lace. Do I have excess? I don't want to use... That one actually could be fun. No, it'll get busy and then you won't see the print. Let's see if I have some extra over here. Here we go. I have some. Alright, there is definitely a directional print to this. And I lined everything up to the selvage edge. So reline that up and I'll cut it out. All right. I'm used to like setting up different stations for my serger, my sewing machine, and my iron, but I'm trying to put them all right next to each other so it's easier to do the live stream. I think I have it figured out, but we will see. All right, extra fabrics, scrap bin, but nearby. All right, I'm gonna flip this upside down because I'm afraid my iron might be really hot because I'd rather be on the cautious side, but I do want to give this a pressing. Okay. Now, I have two different, we used to use them for waistband elastics. This one has marking that it has 8 inches of negative ease. So for the circumference of the waistband, you subtract 8 inches from the finished. Okay, so the finished width around you would subtract 8 inches from. So if it ended here, you would take 8 inches off, and then that would be what you would stretch out. And this one's marked because typically it's 6 inches of negative ease of the other elastics we were working with, so this one's a lot looser. This one has a more springy recovery. I think this is the normal one, and this was the one that every time we sewed with it, the waist would stretch out, and so we needed to take off those extra 2 inches in order to make it the same finished width as this elastic. So there's no hard and final rule when it comes to elastic. It's kind of stretchy, but if you stretch it too much while you're sewing, it doesn't necessarily recover because the stitches might be holding it out. So anyways, stretchy things stretch. And I'm going to go with the one that needs 6 inches of negative ease versus the one that needs 8. And then I wanted to instead of doing a casing, I wanted to attach it with my serger and then fold it over and see how that goes. it may be a disaster. Like, often when I use my serger on stream when we're live, something bad happens, and this is just asking for it, but I kind of want to anyway, so we're going to do that. And I think I'm going to put the elastic on the lace side. I'm going to take out the negative ease and then pin it on each end and in the center. And then I'm going to feed it through the serger while I stretch as I sew, but I don't want to overstretch it out. And then I'll flip it, and I'll flip it. We'll see. And then I'll do a top stitch, probably a stretch stitch down to hold it down. It may not need it. We'll see. There is no right or wrong way. There's a million ways to go about the same problem. And it all depends on what tools you have. Okay, let me see. Reference dress, finished length of elastic. Finished length of the elastic is 4.5 inches. Plus there's a little seam allowance on each side, but it'll get stretched out. So I think I'm gonna do 5 inches so that I have a little bit of space on either end that I can just trim off. Yeah, so. So my scissors are so magnetic, I keep getting little pins attached to them because the pin cushion's right there. I'm going to clean up this edge. And then Michael Snells, how much of the clothes you own did you make yourself? Not a lot, because I do have a very large vintage collection of clothing and hand-me-downs and such. I worked in costuming and styling and such, so I have a weird collection. But things that, but I do make things for myself. Like, I just attended to a wedding and I made the dress that I wore to that, and I had the Crocker Art Museum event and I wore the dress that I made to that. So sometimes I have an image of what I want, and so I just make it happen. Sometimes it's like, oh, this inspires me, let's go with it. But I'm not opposed to using clothes that already exist. And I'm not a huge person when it comes to alterations. Like, if I upcycle something, it's usually with safety pins, so I can undo it and turn it into something else again. Okay, I think. So sometimes I really like to have a lot of safety pins because it's easy to make sure that your tension's even and everything, but then it's also really annoying to have a lot of safety pins, a lot of pins, because then you have to keep pulling them out and keep pulling them out, and it's not as easy as you think because you don't have as many hands as you would like. But I think I'm going to stick with 3, and I regret not having an extra little bit to hang on to. That's not the end of the world, though. They do have tails for a reason. All right. Let's see. You know what? Why struggle, especially while everybody's watching? I'm going to give myself the tail that I know I need. It's just going to happen now. But I will mark my my elastic where I need it. So give myself a little bit of a tail. Here is my start. From that mark, here is my end. Between those marks is my center. Okay, let's see. I wanted to put this on the lace side fabric so I can flip it in on itself. Let me pin it right at the end. Pin this right at the end. And do the center. Okay. Let's try this again. So I want to gather all of this into my elastic, so I'm going to put this side down so that the feed dogs help me feed it into my top layer. So my layers go elastic, lace, fashion fabric. Okay, let me get started with pulling the elastic. Put down the presser, put down the presser foot so I can already start stretching. Come on. There's a knife there, don't want to cut through my pin. I don't want to cut my elastic, but I do want to cut the fabric because a serger will cut and finish the edge at the same time. And since my elastic's, no wonder it's so hard, my elastic's upside down. I'm doing this live. So using a serger while you're live is too much pressure, I'm just saying. It's a great tool, but you have to pay attention to what you're doing. Pull out that pin. All lined up. Oops, I lost. All right, let's see if I, whew. Okay, did it. Okay, then I can fold this over and fold it. Over one more time and stitch it down. But is this going to be small enough? Okay. So. Okay. And I'm folding it over where I need it to stay put, right at the beginning and at the end. So I can put this through my sewing machine and stitch it down without it getting weird and twisty. Okay, let me push that ever so slightly out of the way. Let's go over to this machine. Okay. I'm going to increase my stitch length, but I'm going to go to doing my stretch stitch, which is number 39 on my sewing machine. All right. I don't want to overstretch out my elastic because then it's not cool. So I kind of want to smoosh it into the sewing machine. My sewing machine's not threaded. It's okay. All right, round 2. It's never the first time. All right. Whoop. I'm going to try a straight stitch, but do it at a longer length. Okay, that's a nice little cute edge. I can work with that. I'm happy. Okay. Phew, I can breathe now. My plan was executed successfully. Round 2. Now I'm just going to kind of steam it a little bit so that it all lays flat, because right now there's a little bit of a rumple. Remember how I told you don't want to stretch out the elastic? I stretched out the elastic ever so much. You can see it with that little rumpling. No, that's not a technical term, but steaming it will help it fix it a little bit. You don't want to stretch it out though. It's amazing how much prettier it goes with a little bit of an iron. "45th Clown, question about finishing an edge with a zigzag stitch on a sewing machine. How close to the edge should I be?" Eonolith says 1/2 inch. Honestly, it depends. How wide is your zigzag stitch? How much do you want to see? Is it a top stitch? Is it decorative? Is it going to keep the fabric from fraying? Is that the purpose? So, depends. The answer honestly depends a lot on the moods of your fabric and materials you're working with. I know that's not a direct answer, but finishing an edge with a zigzag stitch on a sewing machine, how close should I be? Well, my favorite way to finish, lightweight way to finish an edge that I used on this heart dress back here is I sewed a straight basting stitch all the way around the hemline at 1/2 inch, and then I folded it at that stitch line and I pressed it, and then I zigzagged it right on the edge where one side of the zigzag stitched into the thread, into the fabric, and the other side zigzagged into nothing. So it was right on the edge. And then I followed that all the way around the edge, and it gave a nice, pretty finished edge. And then I used applique scissors with a little duck bill on them to trim it off like you trim off the excess of a pie crust. So if you're finishing an edge, it depends on the weight of the fabric, how you're using the zigzag. Are you zigzagging the two selvage edges together? Are you zigzagging them separately? So depends, but good question. Malky cosplays. Hi everybody, welcome Malky. Okay, so I think that looks nice, and I have wiggle room to work with. I think I want to do a straight stitch down here holding these two edges together, and then I want to gather it down, but I think I'm going to put this piece aside for just a moment because I wanted to rip out, what did I want to rip out? Okay, I wanted to rip off my ties of the waistband because order of operations, I want to attach these when I attach the front to the back after I've already attached the top to the bottom. So this isn't necessarily the worst, but my life will be so much easier if I just rip this out real quick. And my favorite seam ripper is just an X-Acto knife, but with a sharp blade. And when you're ripping out a serged edge, it's a little bit more confusing because if you pull on the loopy edge, you'll just pull everything tighter and it's annoying to work with. But if you get the stitches, you can pull it all out in like a it goes really quickly, but we're live and y'all are watching me, so of course it will not. So I'm just going to do it the not fast and loose way. But I rip out the horizontal stitches, not the loopy stitches, off of my serged edge. Because if you're ever like fighting with a seam that's not coming apart, it's probably because you're pulling the loopy part and not the stitch. Ask me how I know. Oh geez, I just dropped it. There it is. Okay. Once I destroy something, I'm going to want to create something. So after this is ripped apart, I think I want to take apart my facing and the interfacing, because when I was looking at the order of operations, the facing and interfacing are on opposite sides of the fashion fabric, not on the same side. They're not being treated as one piece. And so that sounds really complicated now that I say it out loud, but looking at the hamburger stack, they aren't in the same on the same side of the lettuce, if that makes sense. So I want to rip out just the shoulder seam, and it really sucks because I already notched that seam, so I've already cut into it, so it's been compromised. Now I could just recut it out of new fabric, which would take 2 seconds, but I don't want to. I'm just going to rip out that shoulder seam, and then when I sew the bodice together, I'm going to sandwich them on opposite sides of the lettuce. I know that's a little weird sounding, but I think they did that for a reason, and I'm copying, so unless I have a better reason to do it otherwise, I'm trying to do what they did first as much as I can. Okay, so this is ripped apart. I was just so excited that those fit perfectly, like to the side seams. So, okay, that's ripped apart. This still is okay. This piece is okay. Wait, those are my gauntlets. Here they are. So these are my facing pieces. This is my front facing. This is my back facing. You can see the back facing looking at through the neckline. This back facing covers what you would see while it's hanging on the hanger. So this seam, these two pieces, they go together like this, but I'm going to rip apart this seam and then sew this together and this together separately, and then they'll be, when I install them, it'll make it way more sense. So I have to, this is just a straight stitch. So if I pull the right one, no, did that, nope, okay. I don't want to stretch this curve out. Put my sharp object down and lost it. Oh, well, I'll use a pen. Not having the right tool never stopped me before. It's okay. Let me just get this thread popped. I'm always amazed at organza, how tough of a fabric it is for being such a lightweight, delicate fabric. Okay, so that seam is out. Let me do the other side. Oops, sorry. Thank you. Yes, to keep fabric fraying. It's a stretch fabric for shorts. I was thinking the answer is to stop researching dild and just have a play. Stretch fabric, and it's fraying? Or is it like running, like gets runs in it? Because most stretch fabrics, I really love working with knits. They seem really complicated, but they're super simple. In fact, in my head, I've already designed this dress as a stretch knit instead of a woven fabric. And key things that changed is no zipper closure on either the wrist gauntlets or on the center back. And then the way I would attach the lining. And I don't think I would need all these facings and inner facings. I'd probably finish the edge very differently. So it would be super simple out of a stretch knit. It would take out different layers of complications, but it would add different ones. But knits are my comfort zone. But I learned on wovens because they're not the exception to the rules. But all fabric has its special needs. Okay. All right. I'm going to stitch this together and this together. Pin it at the beginning and end. Monkey Cosplays, what are you working on today? We are on a side quest. I am making a knockoff of this lovely Gunne Sax dress out of bed sheets and scrap bin fabric and odds and ends. It is just a purely because I wanted to project, hence it's just a side quest. But we're having fun. This is the third video of me working on this one. So, 1, and right now I'm undoing a little bit of what I just did because now I have more information and I'm changing my technique. But because I'm figuring this dress out, it's all good. Okay, we'll do the other side. 1, 2. Oh, that's still attached. I really like this organza. So the green lining in this thing, it frays like crazy. It's so delicate. You'd think that this is a more delicate fabric than this solid green right here. This one looks solid. This looks so fragile. This stuff is tough as nails. That shit is fragile. I mean, that is very fragile. but yeah. And these sheets are microfiber 1,000 thread count sheets. So they have a very tight weave to them, but they also have a plasticky sound to them but it's okay. I think it's interesting. All right, everything's lining up perfectly because it was just sewn together. So I know it fits. Yes, okay. Pull out these extra threads. Go towards the scrap bin. Threads everywhere. All right. Stitch. Okay. Round 2. Here's this piece. I'll find the rest of it as things start to clean up. All right. Let's do this again. Let's do this again. I've added a long stitch length. I just want it at a regular stitch length. I'm not going to redo that one because it's done. But these next ones I'll do better. And they're still pressed nicely. I know they're a little wrinkled, but when I put it all together, I'll press it better. Jeez. Okay, we good. Whew. It's not the end of the world. It's just fabric. Okay. Okay, now we are back from fixing my mistakes. I'm going to put all of this aside and start working on the skirt so I can start making some progress as opposed to starting back at square one. All right, bodice, facing, 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 bodice, center front, bodice, gauntlet, gauntlet, bodice, bodice, bodice. Okay. This is now a scrap piece. I no longer need it. It needs to go in the scrap bin. Okay. Bodice is down there. Gauntlet is over there. Don't need this trim yet. We're going to do this, but it can be right there. For now, I have the skirt. There are 4 pieces. They're all exactly the same. There's center back, side front, front. I'm going to do the center fronts together, and then I'm going to do the side seams, and I'm going to leave the center back open because I'm going to add a zipper. I am, however, just going to serge these edges and then press them very nicely. Okay. So, to get the skirt to lay the way it does, the center front seam is very straight grained. It goes very up and down, but it flares out on both sides. So it does affect it, what's the front, what's the back, and what's the sides. They're not all shaped the same. I mean, they're not interchangeable, but they are kind of, because there's a front and a back. All right, I'm going to press the seam before I add 2 more seams on it because it's going to start to get bunchy, but this is it sewn, and you can see where it's attached together. If you press it right, you won't be able to see that. So no, I'm not sewing the center back seam. If I was sewing the center back seam, I would be doing it now, but I'm going to be adding a zipper. Okay, let's see. Can you hear me now? Good. Okay. First, going to start by just pressing it flat. Sorry. Lots of banging. Oh, geez, it's just barely too short to go the whole length of my ironing board. But this is a mini ironing board. So. Again, I'm just focusing on the seam. I'm not ironing the whole skirt. This is especially important if you have heat-sensitive fabric because you really want to iron the seams if you can. But if you have heat-sensitive fabric, it can be dangerous. Then I'm going to press it open. All right. Goodbye, Malky Cosplay. I was glad you were able to join me. Thank you for joining me while I'm live. This project's a random sporadic project, so if you want to be able to catch me live, make sure that you're subscribed so you get the notifications, because Otherwise, sometime on Tuesday I'll go live. Definitely getting warmer now that I'm using an iron. That's okay. I actually appreciate the warm weather. All right. When I press this, I pressed my seam to one side. So that it lays flat. See, this is the seam side. It's pressed that way, and then it's nice and flat on the front. So much prettier, isn't it? So which way do you press your seam allowance? I typically press it towards the back, so the side seams are going to be both pressed that way, but there's a center front seam, so it doesn't matter if I press it left or right. Usually I like to press it open. But because I serged it, so there's only one little side, it's not a press open side, I just picked a side and pressed it all that way. But there's no real rules. It was just more like guidelines, really. Okay. So these are the side seams. This is my center back because this is the parallel and this is the flare. So flip it this way. Goes that way. So this goes on this side and this goes on this side. I'm going to pin this one and just start sewing the other side. Okay. Oh, I just realized that I have it on top chat and not live chat, so if I missed any comments, I'm sorry. Okay. All right, let me... When everything lines up, I feel like I'm doing everything right in the world. When it's not lining up, it's frustrating. And I usually have to stop because there's usually a reason it doesn't line up. Everything's lining up very nicely, and everything feels right in the world. Okay. Okay, let me stitch the other side. And then I'll press both of the side seams together. Well, at the same time. Okay. Really does have a plasticky sound to it. It's much shorter than the finished dress because it doesn't have the ruffle yet. But I like it. Speaking of the ruffle, let's do that. We're using the fitted sheet. The dreaded fitted sheet. I have the spot here where I ripped off a piece of elastic. And it's right at a corner. So I ripped out the corner seam, and I'm just going to tear this fabric straight across and rip a straight line so that I have a straight line to work with. And I'm going to make the ruffle. I love it. It lined up directly with the seam. These were very well made sheets. The grain line isn't off. Why am I impressed by this? Okay, so the grain line's the grid structure of the woven threads. This is a microfiber polyester sheet set, meaning they're very tightly woven together. And I am impressed that they're this straight and not like veering off grain. Because if they're off grain, they'll twist and they're a little bit of a pain in the butt to work with. But with the grid pattern being on point, these probably are a very nice sheet set to work with. But they are not the right size for me, so I have no need for them. So they are becoming a pretty dress. So it's not like they're being wasted. This elastic corner so that I can then yay, I have a straight line from here all the way to here. And then this is my edge that I cut off the elastic, so I need my pattern piece. I don't think this pattern piece is in here. I think it might be over. I think it might be right there, but let me just check this. Nope, here it is. This is my ruffle. There are 5 pieces this long and wide. This does include hemline seam allowance. So straight grain, edge piece, but I don't want to count that into it, so I'll go here. All right, where's my these edges are ugly because I just cut the elastic off of them. But here is one continuous rectangle. How? Not bad. One width of the queen size sheet is just a little bit narrower than two pieces sewn together, so I'm not going to add this extra seam, and I'll cut out, see if I can get 3 of these. It'll make it more full than the other one. So I might not need this much gathering, but it's easy to gather like this into a small, you know what I mean? I think it'll be fine. I'd rather have too much gathers than not enough. All right. Straight edge. Just trim down this elastic edge. I'm just cutting it off. Probably should just cut it off the whole thing. All right. While I'm cutting this, do you guys have any questions about crafting, sewing, projects you're working on? I'm just going to I'm going to serge these edges so I don't care that they're really raggedy. And it's easier to cut off the elastic because it is sewn in there. All right, I'm already getting bored of doing that. Let me just measure down the same width as the one I just cut. Both ends are the same width because this is actually good fabric. Like, I'm very much impressed with the grain line of this fabric for being just a sheet set. One more. This is my torn side. This is my, let me measure it, side. Sorry to see. Yanla says, taking a break from making art so I can get the swelling down in my arm, but I have a lot of work to do, and I need ideas. I'm going to put my tens unit on my arm now. Be right back. Oh, okay. Sorry. Yes, do art. If you can do art, do it. Sometimes when I have to stop, my brain still chews on it, and I solve my issues while I'm not working on it. That's why these last couple days I was like, you know, I really just got to rip those out because the way I have to do it is different than the way I was doing it. Yeah. Sometimes I dream in patterns. Hey, it's a headband. Or a scrunchie. Okay. I have 1, 2, and 3. Okay. I am going to put these together and yeah, I have to make sure that my fabric is going in the right direction. So my sunshine's going up that way, right sides together. They're both facing the same direction. This is why I don't like using the serger while I'm live. Let me... What happened? I took a bigger chunk when I was chewing this. All right. Try this again. Is this gonna like me? Or am I just gonna do this on the regular sewing machine? Yeah, I'm gonna do this on the regular sewing machine. Oh, look how ugly that is. All right, it's not the end of the world. You know what? If I don't try and cut off that jagged edge and I just line it up so that they are, it doesn't have to cut through it, that blade being dull isn't going to be the biggest issue. And then if it's still a pain in the butt, I'll just move over to the sewing machine and I'll do it a different way. 45th Clown, what's the most enjoyable thing you sew? Or has there been a standout project? I really did enjoy sewing wedding dresses daily. That was kind of crazy and fun. One of the craziest projects that I actually really enjoyed doing was a Taylor Parks music video where I made a 15-foot dress. That thing was crazy, and then I also sewed all the fabric for the curtains and that surrounded the whole space. So it was a lot of pink satin fabric. It was crazy, but it was fun. It was overwhelming, but it's one of those projects that I was like, oh dang, I did that when it's done, you know? Same artist, different video, but on the same shoot. I got to style a pair of stairs that were covered in hair, blue hair. It was crazy. It was fun though. That's not necessarily a sewing project, but I think that giant pink dress was, okay, that's so much nicer. It just couldn't cut off the whole ugly edge, so I'll just tear it so I don't have those jagged edges. Here's my right side. Oh, I haven't pressed anything. That's what I'm missing. That's okay. You know, if I do 3, that might just be too much, looking at how much I have going on. Let me compare it to the original, which is, of course, the right thing to do. Height. Let me find a seam and a seam. I want that extra piece. Okay. Okay, let me clean up these ugly edges. This one's not so bad. I'm not going to worry about that. The other one had like a gash in it and it was super messed up. This one, yeah, I'll tear this edge because it goes too far in. Okay. So find an edge. That was jaggeder than I expected, so I'm glad I cleaned it up. Okay, so this is the right side. This piece. This is the right side, the up and down side. Fabric right sides together. So much string. Okay. So now I don't want to turn this into a Mobius strip because that is not my favorite. It's happened before. Not my. As fascinating as they are, I've been caught in the web. Spider-Man cosplay. Okay. Okay, no twisting, none of that. All right, let me trim this one down ever so slightly. Okay. Let me heat up the iron so by the time I'm finished with this, I can do all my seams pressed. Okay. Okay, so I want to test the ruffling ability of my serger. I'm a little nervous to do it on this, so I want to do it on a test strip before I sew this. Again, still have to press all that, but let me grab a piece of scrap fabric. Okay. Change the settings to that. Let me give this a try first, see if I screwed everything up. Don't worry, I'm just adjusting a serger live. I may regret what I just did. We will see. actually like that gather. That's pretty decent. I could work with that. Okay, I'll gather the whole thing, but first I have to press it. I thought that was going to be harder than it was. Whew. I'm glad when it's not. It doesn't always work out that way. Yeah, the seat can just go away, and I found the right setting on my tens unit. Oh, good job. It's not the worst. Okay, so many strings. All right. Let's start with the actual skirt. Press it flat, and then I press it open. You smoosh it and you smoosh it, and then you smoosh it. Let's give that a try for a second. Again, I'm just pressing the seam allowance. I'm not ironing the whole skirt. That'll come later. I'll probably steam it, but for now, just really pressing these seams flat, and then I'm going to press them open. Press it from this side, and I'm pressing the seams towards the back. There's no real reason other than I think it makes it look neat with all the seams pressing towards the back, but there's always exceptions to every rule you make. Ooh, that sounds awfully ionolith. Okay. You smoosh it and you smoosh it. When I first started sewing, I felt like ironing was the part I could totally skip to speed up projects. Don't do it. Just don't. Your whole life is easier if you press as you go. And it looks so much nicer and all your effort is shown. There are fabrics that you don't necessarily press, and I love working with those. But if it needs it, press as you go. This is the part in the videos that they always snap over. And it's perfectly flat and lays the way you want it. Why doesn't it work for me? Because they ironed it and they didn't show you that step. Or pressed it. Let there be puff. Yes, definitely. I'd rather have too much floof on the ruffles than not enough. And I'm glad my serger's going to gather it nicely for me and evenly, because there's lots of different techniques to do gathers. This is literally the first time I've used this serger to do it, so it wasn't as crazy as I thought, so we're going to go for it. This one more time because it looks a little wrinkly. this crazy thing. I'm just going to press these flat. And actually, I think I'm going to open up my center back seam so I can attach it as a straight line as opposed to a tube. Yeah, might as well line it up on the center back seam. I'm going to press it really nice, so there being a center back seam that lines up with the center back seam of the ruffle isn't going to bug me. I think it would look prettier if I didn't, though. But I think it'll honestly be easier in the long run. So let me open up the center back seam, because there are 3 pieces. My so much fabric. It's okay. All right, so much fluffage. It's okay. This is the fun part. All right. Here are my 2 seams. Let me press it to the back. So press this one, and then I'll press the other one. First, I want to do it flat, and then I want to press it open. Press it flat. Press it open. Oh, look it, the light is getting low. I'm slowly losing light. It's okay. Side, so it's also going this way towards this end. Press it flat. And press it open. Okay. This side's pressed, this side's pressed. And I'm not going to mark my center. Ooh, I am going to mark my center front, but I'm going to mark it on the bottom because I'm going to gather the top. So I like to mark my center front with a red pin. Or an orange pin. It's typically orange, but this set doesn't have any orange pins. There's no reason for the color other than just consistency. so I can identify it across the room. I'll know exactly what I'm working on or with. Okay, back to the end. All right. There's definitely a direction to the print, so the leaves are facing up. So this is my top side. I'm going to go all the way down gathering it and see how fast I can do it. Whoops. On your mark. Get set. Go. While I'm gathering this, I'm trying not to pull back and resisting it so that it just eats up as much of the fabric into that gather as I can. Yanalith, how are your miniature figures coming along? Well, I just found out that we have the digital models of the miniature houses, and so as soon as those get printed, I think everything's just going to start falling together, because we have our world, our little people kind of, I think they're pretty good where we have them. I may do another set if I can find more, but it's coming along nicely. It's okay. I'm really excited about the 3D printing element on this. Like, I think it'll be heavy, but I think it'll be more controllable. Don't worry, we're only live. It's a foam and PVC dress form I made. She'll pop right back up. Probably covered in thread. I'm just gonna finish sewing this and then I'll fix that. Strings. So many strings. So much fabric, but it'll be pretty. Okay. This is the skirt that never ends. It goes on and on, my friends. I started sewing this not knowing what it was. I'm so glad that I don't hem wedding dresses on a daily basis anymore. Although it was very relaxing, therapeutic. I think that definitely helps. So if you put your finger behind the presser foot while you're gathering, it gives a tighter, cleaner gather. Should have been doing it the whole time, but it's a serger, so it should be different now. it does make it look nicer, so I'm doing it now. That's okay. Okay. I have a all right. Now that is my sheet. This is my ruffle. This is my skirt. Right sides together. Where's my edges on this crazy thing? Here's my edge. Here's my edge. And pin one end of my skirt to the end of my ruffle, and then the seam allowance I'm going to line up onto this seam allowance. And then the center front where I had a pin. Oh, it's so much ruffle. Foot is here, pin is here, okay. This goes to here. Do you have a go-to fabric that you prefer? I'm going to practice making small bags, but I wanted to know what would be good fabric that is easy to work with. If you're making bags, felt, like fabric store felt, because you don't have to worry about finishing the edges, you don't have to worry about any of the issues, you can just make your bag so the edges, you can even do like a fancy French seam. Extremely easy. Now you can go with a leather, same things, but I would go with a really lightweight leather. You can also go with, I wouldn't go with vinyls and plastics because those will get stuck in the sewing machine and those have their advanced weird reasons. Basic cottons and basic weaves, you will have to finish the edges, not the end of the world. Stretch knits can get complicated and aren't necessarily the best for bags. But it's not like you couldn't. But if you're making bags, easiest, felt and leather. And those could even be historical because you could use like a wool felt. Okay, so here's my edge, and this gather edge is bigger than this one, so I'm going to find my centers of both my skirt and, oops, I don't want to pull because I want to keep the gathers as even as possible-ish. Here's my center of this, lining it up to the center of this. And I'll put a pin. So much stress, I'm getting lost in it. But yeah, just doing a basic cotton fabric like this bed sheet is a really easy fabric to work with. I have not been stressing out about it. if the fabric's not super stringy, in general, it's fairly easier to work with. Yeah, has a lot of strings on it, but that's because I tore my edges, so I have straight edges to work with, and when you do that, the strings come unwoven. But like even the organza that I was using, looks like it's a delicate fabric, but that type of fabric's pretty darn tough. Okay, so now I have a loop here where this is a little bit bigger. Again, I'm going to fold it in half, find my halves, and then smoosh it together. There are faster ways to go about doing this, but I find that if I just take my time and do it fairly methodically, it just kind of smooshes together nicely eventually. Okay. Just pin and then you pin and then you pin. It's going to be a pretty ruffle. Again, probably way, 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 way faster ways to do this. Okay, let me turn the sewing machine back to regular. Did I change any other settings besides these two? Not that I know of. I'll have to do a strample before I feed this through the serger so that I make sure that I'm not, gathering it so it lays flat. Tuning a serger while live is never fun and easy, but I will do it. See if I'll regret my decisions. It gathered nicely, so I don't regret that decision. Oh, look at the sunshine. I'm getting darker and darker. Time is flying, but I'm making progress, okay? Michael Snell, so standard cotton would be fine. That's what I have. Also have some soft fabric like pajama pants. Yeah, no, completely. Those are great fabrics to work with. Those are standard, everything that you like. They're basic woven fabrics are what the rules are based off of. Like when you're making sample fabrics, you just use the basic weave anyways. So yes. Behind me, in the dark, the thing that has not fallen over, this Jedi, painter's tarps, basic woven cotton, hot glue. Like, I believe in you. If I could throw that together with just minimal, you can make some bags. Bags are great. They can get really complicated and stay really simple, so you can really stretch your abilities and take it as crazy or as simple as you want to go with bags. So you start with the success of, oh, I did a drawstring bag, and then you can kind of up your ante. Now I added a pocket. Now I added two tones. Now it's fully lined. So, yes. And bags are also great for experimenting with materials, closures, etc. Why do I feel off? This feels off. This is super gathered. This is hardly gathered. I'll gather this and then I'll... Pure chaos right now. Honestly, pure chaos. Okay. This fabric. Okay. Pure cotton garments are what? Oh, you're funny, Annalith. It's important not to stink at a con. You know, it's true, but at the same time, you have to think shoes and socks when you're wearing your plastic costumes. What are your... Are you drenched in plastic? Is your whole outfit polyester? Should you have some cotton undergarments? Good points. Okay. Feel like I might be wasting my time because I might be slightly off, but it's so much that I kind of just want to see it pinned together before I start messing with it because, oh my gosh, there's a lot of gathering, which is a good thing. It is very much a good thing. My cosplay is 100% cotton. Is all cotton 100%? Nice. That must be a very comfortable costume. My Tinkerbell is 100% cotton, and it was extremely comfortable considering that Stockton Con was 100 and... I don't know if it was up to 112, but it was plus hundreds degrees weather. So it was a hot day. Inside was nice and cool, but outside was crazy. And I definitely appreciated Tinkerbell costume for a summer con. Oh my goodness, this light is just getting so harsh. It's okay, it'll be down soon enough. Okay, you smoosh it and you smoosh it and then you smoosh it. Okay, it's this middle section that I'm a little off on. One, two, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seams. My side seam shouldn't meet up at my side seams. It's going to make my back more gathered than my front. I think I have to find the centers. Yeah. Hold on, where would that end up being? Okay, that's why I'm off. I knew it felt different and I knew it felt off. All right, this right here is where my side seam should be. I'm gonna mark these both with baby blue pins. So this end is where my side seam should line up. And let me find out on this side. So here's my center front. Here is my side. Okay. Okay. That makes way more sense. It's okay. I'm here in the dark shadows. Yanalith, are you far from the wildfires? I believe a recycling plant near me just caught on fire, but I'm not that close to the wildfires right now, that I know of, but I haven't been paying attention to the news. And are you making a petticoat? No, this is the outer skirt. This skirt has a lining because it's so sheer. The fabric itself is very sheer fabric. Oh, look how bright and blown out this lighting is. Don't worry, I'm only live at a different time than I normally. Alright, I am going to pull out all these pins I just put in and try this again. Okay. Nope, that's not right. This one stays. Okay. My end. This is the side. Center front. Okay. Let me pull out all of these pins. When something doesn't feel right, it's usually not. Okay. So I marked here on my hemline where my side seam should be lined up. So here's my side seam. Right here, here's my pin, lines up with that. Okay. I'll mark this with a quilting pin. 45th Clown says, I'm gonna have to sleep and catch up with the video later. It's looking fantastic. Thank you for enjoying the rest of your... Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your sewing. Thank you. And then Iana Liz says, one more last question. Will the Odin live stream be next week? I don't know. I haven't talked to him yet. He hasn't called me. So, we'll see. I don't know the answer to that. All right. Let me find my center on this side. Here's that pin. Here is there, and then it matches up to this seam. Okay, that feels a lot better. That feels way more even. Yes. Okay. Now, without getting all twirled up too much, let's try this again. Give me 2 seconds. Let me see if I can fix this lighting issue. Make it worse before it gets better. Hold on, let me see. Did I make it any worse or any better? It is what it is. Another reason I like mornings. Okay, avoiding this long enough. Let's pin and pin and pin and pin and pin and pin and pin. Yeah. You know what? That's not too bad. You know, this edge isn't lining up half bad. I'm just gonna go with it. Just sat there and figured it all out nicely, but it's about the right length. When I put it the right place, it's not all off like it was before. So I feel like I'm doing it much better. Okay, because I want to plan ahead, LOL. Me too, but I don't know the answer to that. Michael's now better. Okay, glad. It was getting really rough there for a second. I was getting blinded. Yeah. So anyways. Okay, this is much nicer. I like this. This is working for me. Okay. Section. Whoops. The extra weight pulling everything is making it all off. Okay. Covered in strings, so many strings. Yes, now we can see you better. Okay, good. Phew. Sorry. Sun is setting here. And I've been going at this for a couple hours. I'm just going to keep going because I'm making progress. And it's more about, I'm just getting it done. Thank you guys for keeping me company. That's not a pin. Okay. Blinded by the light. Today's theme is singing. Right? I don't know. I feel like lyrics always pop in my head while I'm sitting doing monotonous tasks. I guess reaching right where the serger is isn't necessarily the best. It's okay. Kind of smoosh it, and you smoosh it, and you smoosh it. Just laying nice, and I'm appreciating it right now. I very much am appreciating this coming together so nicely. Whew. Okay. I need music when I'm working on something. It's an order, LOL. I used to, but then I kind of got into take lectures or other YouTube videos, crafting, creating videos, while I'm sitting doing monotonous tasks. But now I'm just doing my monotonous tasks live. So, yep. Okay. Smoosh it and you smoosh it. And you smoosh it. That looks good. When things start just fitting together, I feel like everything's right. When they are like struggling and it feels wrong. So this is coming together much better. It's like evenly the right length, which is nice. This needs to get smooshed over. Okay, and then the last little bit. All right. Same. I like Punish Props, SKS Props, Sarah Spaceman, and Rachel Maskey. Yeah, right? Those are all great ones. Very inspirational. It's like modern day Bob Ross, in my opinion. I watch other people create things going, I could totally do that. Probably not as good, but if I practiced enough, I could. In my head. I don't know. But yeah. I think it's very inspiring. I love watching how people do stuff and then going about it a completely different way because I don't know, because I'm doing it. Ouch. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I definitely do like good music when I'm working though because it makes the time so much more pleasant, but I definitely like listening to other people crafting, creating, making things, or learning things. Somebody's stating a bunch of interesting facts at me. I'll take it. Smoosh it and you smoosh it and you smoosh it. Oh yeah, I like Evil Ted and Odin, of course. Yeah, I heard of Evil Ted from Odin. Every time I'm like, oh, I need a cone pattern. He says, Evil Ted has a great cone pattern. And Evil Ted has a great sphere pattern and a helmet pattern. And yeah. I always tease Odin that he's fangirls over Evil Ted. Because he's been talking about that channel since the Smosh days. We were working together. Behind the scenes fashion. I just want you to finish your mighty Thor costume. Oh, I wasn't gonna finish that one. I just made the bodice out of duct tape as a proof that you can make a costume out of duct tape. And you couldn't really see the hem of it anyways. So I have it over there in the corner, but I don't think I'm going to finish that one. But I was going to do the pink Power Ranger, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Okay. Let me do a sample piece of fabric on this before I try and put all of that through there because I can see it getting really crazy. And also, I think I'm going to try and fix this. Okay, maybe that helps. I don't know. Let me see if I got the serger back to status quo. I didn't change these. I changed that back. I changed that back. Yep, everything's flat. I like just having my serger set up the way it's supposed to be so I don't have to change any of the settings. I'd rather change machines than change settings. But that's because I worked in a manufacturer and I'm thinking in that brain right now. Okay, brain thinking again. Ruffles on the bottom so that the feed dogs can help me gather into the other piece. Wish me luck. Take a deep breath. Let me read the comments as a way to avoid working on this for 2 seconds. Ianola says, when I am able to buy foam again, I'll make a cosplay for you. Nice. Oh, just a insider's tip. If you want foam, like couch foam and stuff like that, it wouldn't hurt to reach out to local upholsterers. They have very limited dumpster space and have lots of excess of foam. So if you need bits and pieces to carve out into costumes, just a pro tip, just call them up and ask them if they have some bits and pieces. And usually if you work with them in their time, you can go pick up a bag of free foam and it'll help both of y'all out. So just, it's not craft foam, but it is foam you can use for crafting. Okay, taking a deep breath. Michael Snell, I hope to meet some of these creators someday. I need to go to more cons. Right? Odin's met a lot of his friends. I haven't been to any of the cons that all of these people have been at yet. Odin has, and he's really absolutely loved and raved about it. He even got to meet Adam Savage. I'm Jelly Beans. But yeah, I agree. I'm just trying to line up my edges. Just gotta smoosh it and gotta smoosh it. I'd love to meet you in person. One of these days we need to meet up. I was thinking about doing a meetup with Odin at the Crocker Art Museum because we have art on display that we have collaborated in currently, which is really exciting, and I'm like over the moon about the collection going on right now. But we haven't talked more about it yet, so that is a big right now. But it's not out of the realm of possibilities. I am going to go to SAC Anime this year, and I'll be floating around that, hopefully. I work in a furniture store, and we have tons of the stuff. See, pro tip. They need to get rid of it. It's not easy to recycle. It is possible to recycle, but it's not the easiest to have access to recycling. And free is free. But I don't need to store the stuff, so. Getting around this skirt, it's happening slowly but surely. But the upholstery foam soaks up everything, LOL. Well, you don't necessarily have to paint the foam. You can give it a skin or a membrane. You use it as inner padding, but it's also hot and warm. I'm not saying it's perfect for everything. I was just throwing it out there that it is a great way to get cheap foam, especially like if you're doing mascot style costumes or bunny feet or I don't know, there's been a lot of weird costumes that have needed to be built up out of foam. Oh geez, this is gonna go on forever. That's okay. Thank you guys for keeping me company. This is a long stream. I'm glad you guys are here for me. Okay. I have to be really careful of not putting my pins in this, so I have a lot of pins. So. While I'm a part dragon and shark for my character, I don't want a fursuit. No, definitely not. Fur is way too hot, especially in the summer and such. Even couch foam is hot, but... Oh, excuse me. Oh. That's why I want to make my cosplay out of leather. Leather does breathe. Oh my gosh. One time, I was a pickle. I know, crazy costume. We were... local news station was doing a special on a farmer's market that was going on. Blah, blah, blah. Long story short, I was working at the costume shop, and we have a pickle costume and some other fruits and vegetables. And I was wearing a pickle costume for this event. And it was made out of... You know the foam that goes between the carpet and the floor? That stuff that looks like the chopped up foam? Yeah, the pickle costume was made out of that. I hated it. It's so gross, but it was fully lined and encompassed. But I feel like it has so much crumble from it, the foam, that it's just yucky. But it did have like plenty of space because it was a weird pickle mascot costume. Anyways, I have a lot of costume experience. Lots of weird costumes. Have you dressed up as a pickle? Yes, I have. I saw a costume today online where somebody dressed up as the puppet from Saw with the little tricycle. And I was like, oh yeah, remember when I dressed up like that? Because I wanted to go to a party and bring a tricycle, and I thought that was like the coolest costume to do that with. But yeah, I'd really have to go dig out those photos. Jeez, okay, I got this. I got this. This little spot isn't as gathered as the rest, but it's the right gathering edge. Oh no, did I? The clunking is I had a seam it tried to cut up. Okay. As long as it's not a pinhead. Those are the worst. Dull up your blades like nobody's business. It's already too dull. Oh my goodness, I'm only halfway there. I'm only halfway. It's okay. It's going to be a bit of a long stream today. I guess so. It's not hard, it's just tedious. Okay. Good luck. Michael Snell, I'm working on Dr. Octopus. I hope to finish it by Halloween. Nice. How are you going to do the arms? I've seen them done so many different ways. And I think it's a fun challenge to work on. Lay flat. Thank you. Deep breaths. Oi, 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 oi. It's got this. I got this. I got this. Yeah. This is just attaching the ruffle. It's not even hemming the ruffle. But honestly, I think that'll go faster. Close. It's all right. Got this. Just smoosh it and you smoosh it. Oh, look at, here's the sunshine right here. Okay. Get this sewn. So much skirt. Didn't seem all like that much because it was short, but now that I've added this massive hemline, there's an end. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, but we're not there yet. Okay. You smush it and you smush it and you smush it. Oops, I almost got that pinch. Don't tell. No, 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 no. Lay flat, lay flat. Okay, okay. Back in a good groove. Let's do this. This is the edge where I was holding it with my fingers, so the gathers are way more even and tighter. So I'm like, oh, I could definitely tell a difference. A simple thing can do. Let me not prematurely get excited because sewing machines like to screw up right when you're at the end. So I have to pay attention. Have to pay attention. back to the end. I never thought we'd be there. There is a gathered edge on this thing. Look at that. And the skirt, it's right here. Okay, yay! Felicia, have you thought about making a Discord server? Yes, I actually made one. I haven't announced it or done anything with it, but yes, I have. It exists. Okay, I have a skirt. Okay. Jeez, a lot of string. Okay, whew. That was a lot of ruffleage going on. That's okay, we got it, we're done. Okay. Let me take a peek at the bodice, because I think I'm pretty good to call it a day, but honestly, I would probably turn off the cameras and just keep working, and I don't know. Let me see. Let me see if I'm motivated. Put the skirt in there. Puzzle pieces, facing, center gusset, center back, front. Okay, goes like this. This is a tie. This is the other side's tie. This is facing, interfacing. This goes here. Okay. Let me so the gauntlets, these are the ties. I'm going to put those down there for the moment. All these facings I can keep for the moment too. Okay. I have a front, I have a back. I wanted to line up my bodice to make sure things go where they're supposed to go. I think I put a pin where it belongs, but 1/2 inch seam allowance. Yep, that's where this side should be. And then line these up. 1/2 inch. I think it's in between these ones. Okay, so this little gusset needs to go right on the inside of this, and I'm gonna pin it where it belongs. Nope, not use the pin that I'm using for marking. I'm gonna use a separate pin. And then this side. You know that 2 inches wasn't so far off of what I needed. Okay, let me line up all my edges here and pin these in place. Okay. Awesome. How and when can I join? I can help you set up the Discord server. Let me figure it out and I will let you know. I for sure should have it up, since you guys want it, by next Tuesday's live stream, if that works. Okay. This lace edge is spilling over ever so slightly, but I think that okay. Does this feel the same width as this? This feels the same width. Okay. It looks different because it's not fully gathered yet. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna just straight stitch this real quick, and then I'm gonna trim off the excess and probably then throw it through the serger. So let me just do that real quick. Get the original dress out of the way. Doing this as a basting stitch. Actually, you might not serger this. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. That side, and then there's this side. Okay, so now this is going to get gathered down. I'm not stressing about that yet. I'm going to trim off this extra right here. And trim the lace, but not the other fabrics, because the lace it stretches out really easily. And I cut it ever so slightly larger than my regular fabric, so I'm not really stressed out about that, but I don't want the other stuff trimmed, just the lace. Okay, now this is why I ripped apart my facings, because one was on this layer and one, hold on, which one was which? I'll find out in just a second. Once I start putting them together, they'll either fit or they won't. Does this mean I can add you on Discord? Because if I miss Tuesday's live stream, I can still get an invite, LOL. I'll figure it out, okay? I'll figure it out. But yes. Here's my back. Here's my back. This piece goes here, like this. Okay. And where is this? Okay, so this is what I was explaining, that these were on different sides of the lettuce when it comes to this. We have the bodice front, which is, okay, do we have something we could try on? The neckline right here, it has a raw edge that goes into this gusset that we just added. So we're adding a facing onto this. We're adding the right sides together, sewn at the shoulder seam, this whole edge all the way down, and then on the inside of it, I am adding the piece of organza, and I'm going to stitch this all within the seam allowance. And right here at the front, right where we get to this gusset, I can go down about an inch like they did, and then I flip it all inside out. So line up all the seams at the shoulder, and pin it. Oh, look at that light. Oh, cool. Michael Snell says, looking forward to your Tuesday streams. Makes my workday better. I hope to catch it this week. I'm going out of town later this week to Gen Con. That's awesome. That's fun. Thank you. Tuesdays has been a nice consistency. I've definitely been enjoying it. And I'm not going to stitch this yet because this is going to happen when I do the zipper. But I am going to start at this corner and sew all along the front. Lining up my edges and curves, not to stretch them out. Whew, it's starting to get warm in here. I am at least going to get these pinned. This is happening. What's interesting is when it gets to this part, let me just yank this. So the back facing is tucked and sewn onto the zipper, but in the front, right here is where it meets up with this piece, and it is goes down about an inch, and it's tacked in place right along here. This is what the trim is for, is to hide all of these top stitch seams, which I think is pretty cool. So, yep. This is going the way it's supposed to. Okay, phew. But let me go on. I'm a little nervous because I haven't done it yet, but it fits together nicely. Okay, so there's this side. Let me do this side. I was wondering how they stitched it, and they stitched it, trimmed it, and then encased it, so it's sort of like the seam allowance is encapsulated, so I don't have to stress out about that. Okay. Whew. Here's this one. Line up at the shoulder seam. If it's at all possible, make it earlier in the afternoon. You guys don't like it when I do it early in the morning? Mornings are when I have the time set aside sometimes. No, I don't know. Oh, I should have been putting the organza in as I've been doing the other one. Okay, let me put this. I was wondering if I had my organza upside down, but the way that this is going to be flipped inside out, I'm okay. But I definitely have to pause and think, what are my sandwich layers for, and why are they on what side of the sandwich for what reason? I know. Okay. 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 Oops. All right. For better or worse, I'm going to stitch this. I think I'm 3 hours behind, so mornings are great for me because that's my early afternoon. Right? It's interesting having a global audience because you realize how far California time is behind everybody else's. And people don't seem to like my midnight streams as much as my early morning streams, so I try my best either way. Okay, ready or not, here's the stitching. Let me turn it off and on again. I figured it out. All right. All right, putting this right where my serger spits out the edges and thread was not a smart idea. Okay. So these edges are completely encased when you look on the inside of it. But if I hold it up to the light, I can see where they notched the fabric on the inside of the curves. So I am going to go through and notch and trim my edges. As I'm following these curves, I'm like, oh shoot, I'm gonna have to trim these. One side is stitched. Let's do the other side. Okay. Oh no! It's always right at the end when you run out of thread. Can you tell I'm live? I'm definitely live because screw this. Anyways. Let me do this real quick. You know, there are sewing machines that will beep and let you know that you're running out of bobbin thread. I'm not a huge fan of those sewing machines, but it is nice to not run out of thread. They should have one like low fuel, low bobbin. Like, Okay. Okay. Let's try this again. And it's just the last inch. Every time. Alright. Come on. I like these automatic threaders. I do. All right. It is this side. Okay. This last little bit. Okay. So let me start with trimming this edge down. Looks like I need to take a lot of triangles out. What am I doing? I am debulking this seam, and I am cutting little triangles out of my seam allowance so that when I flip it the other way, it just lays super flat and I'm not fighting it because there's not extra fabric bulking up and trying to get shoved into the same space. How do you know whether to do triangles or slits? It's whether it's a concave curve or a convex curve. And if your brain can't chew on the information of flipping it the opposite way when you flip it inside out, you can just do triangles all the way down because they work for both situations. All right. And I'm just gonna cut a little bit extra out of here. And then I'm also just going to trim off some of this extra seam allowance. Just trim it all down so it gets caught when I flip it the other way. And I won't do it to the other side right away so you guys can see the difference. Okay. So I have like a notched up, trimmed out side. Now my iron. Press this. It's supposed to be, and then we'll flip it right sides out. I suppose I probably could do an understitching on this. Do they? Let me see. Yes, they do. They do an understitching. I'm like, this is a place, what is an understitching? It is a little stitch that keeps all this excess seam allowance stitched to the facing side, so it's all pulling the right way. So they did an understitching and then they added the trim on top. And I think I really like the idea of doing an understitch. Now, how do I want to do it so that it's the easiest way possible? Let me press it first. Do I want to press it first? Yeah, I think I do. I'm gonna press it towards my facing. Again, we're still working with the curved edge here, and I'm turning it inside out. And I'm just trying to press my stitching lines, not everything else, okay? So complicated, but I get why they're doing it. It makes sense, it makes sense, it makes sense. Okay. I am going super long today. It is an extra long stream, but I'm making a lot of progress, so we're just going with it. Okay. Ouch. I must look so silly right now, but I'm really concentrating on making this sure it's flat. I'm pulling the right way. Okay. Understitching is in place. Now let me press this flat. Whoops. Set it back. Whew. I know how it is when the mood to work strikes you and you just want to keep going. Yep, that's what I'm on. This is a side quest, side project, and I am making progress, and I am going to keep going with it for the moment. Ooh, it's hot. Okay. Okay. And this gets pressed down this way, is continuing that seam. Okay. Now, let me see. Starting at this edge, working all the way down to this edge, I do my top stitching with my dot lace trim to hide the edges. Now, do I do the dots outside or inwards? That is a very good question. Do I want my dots to face this way or to face that way? I think I like it this way. Do I want to do it right on the edge or just right a little bit over the edge? I think I'm going to go ever so slightly over the edge. Okay. I'm going to do an abstract stitch to cover this up so I can get my dots and everything. Do I want an abstract stitch? No, I want a zigzag. A narrow zigzag, but a zigzag all the same. All right, let me just do this. Zigzag goes right there. I lined up. Okay, I think the zigzag's the right choice. I wasn't 100% sure. What's an abstract stitch? Abstract stitch is like a zigzag stitch, but it doesn't take a direct zigzaggy route. It kind of takes a tilted pyramidic route, so the stitches disappear when you're sewing with lace. But this is a straight line lace, and I'm just going with the zigzag on it. If it was like a scalloped edge or something a little different, I would take a different approach. But I think this one, goes very nicely with a zigzag stitch. I am covered in thread. Whew. Yes, okay. Almost done with this side. Probably should have trimmed out this. I keep catching myself holding my breath. I need to breathe. Leave this a little long on both ends because it's okay. So. This is the edge with no trimming, just kind of folded over. And then this is the edge, nicely trimmed, folded over. So then, kind of goes from there. But, it's nice and flat, still a little poofy. Woo, done folding laundry. Congratulations, that's awesome. Okay. Let Let me debolt these seams as much as I can. Where's my sharper scissors? Here they are. Oh, that's a bolero. Kind of, because it doesn't have the waist part attached to it yet. It's just the upper bodice, not the lower bodice. Cutting a lot of triangles out of this thing. Make it as easy as possible. To understitch, to encapsulate, and finish these edges very nicely. Okay. Trim off the excess. Oh my gosh, my vacuum is gonna go crazy after cleaning up this today. There's so much little bits of string and fabric scraps. It's insanity. Okay. Finger press this first. Sorry about that. Microphone was in my way. Okay. That's the most curved spot. Do you need something? I'm still live. I'll be out in a few minutes, okay? I think I've been at this for too long. It's been 3 hours. Okay. I think it is about time to wrap everything up. Don't worry, I'm only live. I say that all the time. I don't think I believe it. All right. Now it's time to press that edge flat. Now that I've understitched it. Oh, I'm sorry, Annalith, about your connection. I'm almost done for the evening. gotta hand tack down this shoulder, probably debulk it a little bit better, but moment, just gotta attach this. Okay, zigzag stitch. I did it at its regular settings, go extra on the edges. Saying this all out loud. Okay. Concentrating, can you tell? I'm making progress. Progress. Don't want to speak too loudly because it'll decide to be out of thread or something. I know I just filled it, but still. Don't want to jinx it. Hooray! So now I have the top part of my bodice started. I want to attach it to this part of my bodice. And I'm going to line it up completely flat to the gathered spot on both sides. One, two, and three. And this side too. Alright, and I think I'm going to use a needle and thread to gather this part right here. Into this little space right here. Let me get a needle and thread real quick. How many more seams do you think this will take? I can answer that. Give me a second though. Okay, so I have to sew this seam, which is the underbust seam. I then have to sew the sleeves. So that is 3. I have to sew the gauntlets 4, 5, and then the zippers into each gauntlet 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Then I have to do the side seams 12, 13, and then I have to attach the bodice to the skirt, so that's 14. And then I have to put in the back zipper, which is 15, 16. So I have about 15, 16 seams left to do. So we're about at over 3 hours today, 4, 5, 6.5. Yeah, this is going to be about a 10, 12-hour dress. If I focused on it, I probably could get it done in 8, but that's only if I, like, that would be more if I've done the dress before and know what I'm doing already. Okay. So, needle and thread. This doesn't have to be permanent. It can just be to hold it all together. Oh, how many streams, but okay. How many seams? Streams, I misread that. Honestly, ideally only one more. Because I don't think I want to do the zippers on a live stream. I'm going to take this pin out and this pin out for the moment while I just... Ah! Oh, nose grease. Make the needle go in and out a lot easier as I stab myself. Jeez. It's okay, I'm only live. I'm sure there's better ways to go about this, but this is the way I'm doing it right now, so yeah. Okay. All right, let me pin this all back up to where it was. Ah, don't do that. It's pinned. That was my finger. At least I stopped before I drew blood. Okay, will you show off the finished product then? Of course I will. Yes. I'm not the best about showing off my finished products, but I will definitely show this one off. Okay, so I have it pinned to match to my waistband, but this inside part needs to gather down so that it fits evenly. Make the gathers nice and even. there's nothing fun about having uneven gathers. Where's my edge? All right. I'm gonna lock this string in place so it doesn't change length on me anymore because it's the right length. Ah, I'm hooked. There you go. 2 stitches in place and it won't go anywhere. Again, that same stupid pinhead. It's okay. Take it out. All right, and then this is all evenly spread out. Where is my little pot of pins? Oh, here it is. I hide everything from myself. Evening, Big Bad Wolf Custom Airbrushing and Decals. Not Big Bad Wolf, sorry, Bad Wolf Custom Airbrushing and Decals. Welcome to my stream. I'm live today, making stuff up as I go. No. Okay. I like this. This feels even. It feels nice. I'm just going to pin it in place and sew it down. Yeah, I'll go this direction. Okay, let's do this. On that. Okay, sorry. I don't know why I'm apologizing, but okay. And now I have waistband attached, so it goes like this. Hold on, shoulder seams are right here. One's here, bust is here, and then of course the back goes. So I think I'm at a good stopping point. I have the bodice front and back put together, and it's attached at the side seams. I mean, at the shoulder seams. I have to attach it at the side seams. It probably can use a good pressing. I have my skirt. With all the gathers. So would go attached to here. It's coming along. It's happening. Thank you, Ionolith. I think it looks pretty too. I think it's coming along very nicely. I really like the polka dotted trim. I think it really does pop. I think I definitely have to press this, and probably will give it a whole nother pressing when the cameras aren't on and I can be a little bit crazy. Not crazy, but yeah. I'll probably do about one more live stream of this, but I think I'll stop when I get to the zippers, because I don't think I want to do zippers live. Watch a tutorial on how to do zippers, do them better than I do, but on this one, I won't record myself doing the zippers. But thank you for joining me. I 100% will be live on Tuesday, usually in the mornings, but we'll see what time it ends up happening. The side quest, I have just been working on it as I've had motivation and excitement about it, and we've been at it for about 3.5 hours. 3.5 hours. Wow, 3 hours, 20 minutes. So I think it's time to call it a day. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for keeping me company, and I'm excited about the side quest, and it's gonna be so much fun. I love it. All right, till next time. Bye.